Okay, John, we look
Right.
forward to the next
You
point.
know what I want to talk about now is what is happening in the world as far as violence goes. It seems to have been speeded up, that there's more violence now than there ever has been. Well, I must tell you that is not the truth. The difference in your world now is you can know what's going on everywhere. 100 years ago, you wouldn't have known if there was fighting in the Middle East. You wouldn't have known about different things that are happening in these different countries. If you did know about it, it could be a month after it happened. You wouldn't know instantaneously. So you can look at all the violence that you see and think that the world is going to explode. There is so much violence. Everyone hates everyone. That is not a true picture. I would recommend that you no longer watch the news. If you need to know what's happening, and there are times you need to know what's happening to be part of the world, you can find out from your internet, or you can find out from a newspaper. You don't have to see it up close and personal, because when you see this violence, it almost makes a little scar on your soul. It makes you more accepting of seeing violence. It's in all your movies. So you don't want that. You don't want to be able to look at the world and think the world is a place to be feared. These are small pockets where the violence is unfolding. That's in the world. Now, what's happening in this country is very sad to see at the moment. It looks in different parts of the country that it is the police against the people. And in some parts of the country, the police have had a very heavy, violent hand. And that is happening because of their fear. They need to have a more balanced approach with people. And there are some people there who have evil actions, but not necessarily are they evil. They may be mentally ill. They may have a hatred, have grown up with a hatred, have been taught to have a hatred of others. And some of them think the easiest way to live is to hurt others. It gives them perhaps a vicarious pleasure, which is very unfortunate for them as well as their victim. You will pay a price if you hurt another. You can't do things like this and walk around scot-free. You will pay for it at some point in your life. So, what I see happening now is there is violence, there is a lot of violence, and there is civil unrest. But what's happening when people are marching, it's really a good thing, because it makes the authorities look and say, this is not behavior that we want to reward. So it will implement new training programs in some of the big cities. New York has something going on. I think you'll also see Los Angeles will have some issues, and they will have to start a training program. Chicago has so many violent deaths. There needs to be a shift in that area. And I would think that the more highly evolved souls that live there need to start getting together, need to start working on new ideas and new implement ideas so that everyone feels they have a voice. The biggest thing in the world that creates issues is people need to be heard. Each individual person has a right. After all, you're all connected. You're all part of the energy of the one mind. So everyone has a right to be heard. Everyone's voice is important. You may not like what they have to say, but you can listen courteously. Let them listen to you. What I see happening now in this country, especially in areas where it should not be happening, in the areas where they make the laws, and they're all talking, not to each other. I'm talking here, I'm talking here. Things don't get resolved that way. I would recommend that all who pray be sending energy to them, the people who make the laws. Send energy and ask them to be patient, to listen. They are there to represent people. They're not there just to talk and get on TV. But it doesn't seem as if they're listening to their constituents, because most people do not want to hear this. Most people want them to get along, to work together, and to pass just laws, instead of spending hours doing that. I think they call it a filibuster, so that no one else can talk, so that a law does not pass. Not the way to go about it. That is violence with your words. If one listens to the other person and really hears and speaks to each other, there can be harmony. And it needs to start where they are, because they are your representatives. So they have to stand in harmony to get things done.
So how can the American public, as individuals and as a group, like you said, prayer, right, send energy.
Right. They need to pay attention. And you have another election time coming up. You need to use your intuition as well as listening, so that you can get somebody in office who wants to do their job well. You have people in those positions now who really are there for the prestige, for the perks that they get. They get a lot of things, even though you may not think their salaries are that high. They are high. And they get lots and lots of things free. So they should be on the straight and narrow. And some of them try very hard to do a good job. Some of them work very hard at it. You have excellence, those who work hard, do the best they can. Then you have some who, okay, I'm here, I can spin a good line, I know how to make things look good, who do a mediocre job. And then you've got some who have gotten into that place simply because they can work a camera well. So what you really want is for the American people to try and put the best candidate that runs in office. The very best. I mean, you have some who are very good, but the very best usually won't run because they don't want the aggravation. They cannot do enough to serve to make it worth the energy that they would have to put out. It is a very difficult proposition to run for office.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to, do you need some water?
Yes,
Okay.
this potty probably needs some.
All right.
So no, I think that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the violence, and it needs to abate, and it would be good if it weren't in all your movies. That's not good at all. And it impacts youngsters who think this is the way of the world. And the way of the world, really, most people are not into violence. The majority of people on the earth plane do not want violence, they want peace. But sometimes that's not what you see in your media.
Okay. So really on an individual basis, because sometimes in this whole thing, you see the overarching theme and then the individual feels a sense of powerlessness.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a way to be empowered in this scenario so that people can take that action or can do whatever is theirs to do to help make that shift?
Well, there are a lot of different ways that you can impact your corner of the world to make a difference in the world. With people who are running for office, not only just look at the ones in the higher levels, but look at your local and put people into your local governments who actually, and you can meet them, they are approachable usually. You can meet them and get a take on where they are coming from. If you have someone who is, let's say, the governor of the state, now there's a lot of people who live here. So that would be a more difficult thing to really connect with him, but you should listen. What you hear are sound bites, and sometimes somebody can have some very good ideas, be in office, and yet when they come on TV, they look like they are not very bright, and it can all be slanted. So you have to look and use your intuition. Where you can really make a difference in your own life is the way you connect with people. You may not be able to do anything about some things that are going on here, but you can live your own life with honor and integrity and contribute to society. You can contribute to society in very small ways. You can make a difference in someone's life who is waiting on you in a grocery or when you get food, to be kind, and it will make a difference for them. And that is what makes a difference in the world. The way you interconnect with the people you're around, that strangers as well as your family. Does that make sense, Rebecca?
Mm-hmm. Sure
Okay.
does. Okay, so are you through on this subject?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm going to put it on pause.